And tonight in Hannities America, good news and bad news from Team Obama. Now, the good news is that we finally found an instance in which they support less federal regulation. Now, the bad news is that it's in the area of organized labor where corrupt union bosses make federal regulation deeply necessary. Now, the Washington Times reports that the Obama administration has gotten rid of major federal oversight of union finances. After hiring a former AFL-CIO attorney, the Department of Labor is axing two key regulations that required unions to report detailed information about their finances and their compensation. Now, the Labor Department simply stated that, quote, it would not be a good use of resources to force union officials to report any conflicts of interest. And in its typical transparent manner, the administration would not say what role the AFL's former lawyer played in this decision. So let me get this straight. Swine odor research is great use of federal resources, but preventing union corruption, well, that doesn't make the cut. Now, if this is truly the case, this administration has its priorities way upside down. California Senator Dianne Feinstein made an epic appearance on CNN's State of the Union this weekend. Now, she discussed President Obama's first 100 days in office, and needless to say, she had quite a positive take on them. Her revisionist history has landed her in tonight's liberal translation. Let's take a look.
I think the Republican Party should stop being the party of no. This is a president well elected by a large number of people. He has had a very strong first 100 days. He has traveled to countries abroad. He's turned the page. He's opened a new day. He's taken strong executive actions. He's put together programs. He's delved into the economy.
That Obama, there's nothing he can't do. He walks on water. If only those stubborn Republicans would just get out of his way, what a country this would be. One-party rule. Last week, liberal Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz decided to use a House Judiciary Committee hearing as a forum to slam the brave men and women of our armed forces. Now, the hearings were on the Hate Crimes Prevention Act of 2009, which defines attacks against another person on the basis of religion, national origin, gender, and sexual orientation as hate crimes. Well, at the hearing, Congressman Tom Rooney, a former member of the U.S. military, offered an amendment to make attacks against veterans hate crimes as well. Well, that idea did not sit well with Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz. Let's take a look.
I'm from a state, as Mr. Rooney is, that includes and represents a district that includes real victims. I represent a very large, one of the largest gay populations in the United States of America, one of the largest Jewish populations in the United States of America. My region, our region, has a very large African American population. It really is belittling of the respect that we should have for these groups to suggest that members of the armed services have somehow systematically been the victims of hate crime.
Now, Congresswoman, including our soldiers in this bill would not belittle anybody. And I think you and Janet Napolitano need to revisit your opinion of our veterans. Now, by the way, I'm personally opposed to hate crimes legislation because I feel that you're trying to punish people for their thoughts or perceived thoughts. But if you're going to have it, excluding veterans, that would be a crime. And in tonight's Media Mash, as President Obama's first 100 days draws near, we are now getting word on just how biased the network news coverage of President Obama has been. Now, the Center for Media and Public Affairs has found that ABC, CBS, and NBC have devoted a staggering amount of time to Mr. Obama during their broadcast. And I'm sure it won't come as a shock to many of you, but the study shows that the coverage itself has been overwhelmingly positive. Now, here are the numbers. In only his first 50 days in office, the evening news broadcasts of those three networks devoted 28 hours to President Obama. By contrast, President Bush received only 8 hours of coverage. And all that time devoted to covering the anointed one's presidency, well, it featured positive coverage 58% of the time. However, during George W. Bush's first 50 days, well, only 33% of the stories were favorable. Not to mention, the study shows Barack Obama has received more coverage than George Bush and Bill Clinton combined. Now, that may explain why, when Robert Gibbs was asked how he would grade the press corps' coverage of the administration so far, he gave them a strong A. By the way, I give Robert a strong F.